the people out there questions to say, listen, you will not get the PF back. What are you going to do? What special purpose vehicle are you going to use? What next? Those are questions that are being asked out there. And we'll tell you this. We are not short of options. Okay. Because people have moved where the real PF is. People are all the time. We have leadership, and we've shown that we have leadership in the party. And it's not only leadership, but mature leadership. Mature leadership that is willing to lead and to be led. And that is what we tell the people. And it's a true test of character. Ukaluza, are you going to support the other? Ukaluza, are you going to go on your own? This process, is it a process that you've chosen to believe in? Because to participate, you must believe in the process. And because you believe in the process, you know that what is going to come out of that process is going to be credible. If it's not going to be credible, you might as well not participate. So Tonso Amnetishta participate in this particular process. We know that the result of it is going to be credible, because we know that we have a membership that will sift through and say, iwe, not manje, iwe maybe zaka kuyesako time now. But there's nothing wrong with you working together. As a matter of fact, this is something that we should even be able to sit down amongst ourselves candidates, and at least that is being facilitated at a whole different level, where perhaps even before we can have this convention, we'll be able to say, okay, we have trimmed down the numbers to so many. Or indeed, we have actually come out with an agreed position that this person is going to lead the party. We are that democratic in our party, and we exercise that democracy in our party. So, osa daba mkamvila chabe one day time at mamnaza chita participate vali so or kapina wamnita sanka wamnitona monga tinga indenae no waso, because we are all going to play a very big role in making sure that we form the next government that responds to the aspirations of the Zambian people. It is not a selfish game about Makebi or about Maozi or indeed about any other person. And that brings me to a question that I think I didn't respond to. You asked as to whether we're even willing to reconcile with a person like Robert Charing. Reconciliation has to be genuine, and obviously, if it is a genuine reconciliation that responds to the aspirations of the Zambians, who are we to say no? Because the fact of the matter is that the desire of Zambians is that there should be no conflicts whatsoever, unnecessary conflict. If we're going to differ, let's differ in principle. Let's differ in principle and respect other people's opinions. But where something goes to the very heart of the matter, the very heart of the nation, the heart and soul of the country, the exercise of the rights of the people, then we should be able to sit around the table and say, listen, what you're doing is killing the very heart and soul of this country. And if he's of the view that indeed that is what is happening and is willing to make good, who are we to say no? We should be reconciliatory in our approach.
Okay. Though some PF MPs, just on the same question, Honorable Makebi Zulu, some PF MPs complain that the current uncertainty has the potential to affect the readoption. What is this? What is your take on this?
Obviously, when you're going to talk about adoption, you have to be adopted on a party that is seen to exist, or a party that is recognizable. And that concern is genuine. And that is the reason we're saying we know how we're going to move on ahead. In the event that this government chooses to keep its hold on the party, we know that we need to have a vehicle that we're going to use for purposes of getting into the election. So there's no cause for desperation at this particular point.
Okay.
The cause that is there right now is that Tizagwiri is an abwanje. How are we going to unite so that we ensure that we give the Zambian people an alternative that is viable, an alternative that is not rhetoric, an alternative that is not full of fake promises, but an alternative that responds to their needs. Right now, they're crying about not having food on the table. They're crying about Nkanya load shedding. They're crying about a lot of other things, how poorly our agricultural sector is doing. Our farmers who are not being paid by FRA. Those are real issues that people are grappling with. There's an issue of youth unemployment that people are grappling with. How are we connecting the youths to industry? Those are issues, real issues that we must be addressing with the Zambian people. And those are issues around which we unite to offer to the Zambian people.
What makes you think the Zambian people want the PF back into government? Looking at it, that it was just 4 years ago that they kicked out the PF. The UPNG President Hakainde Hichilema got about 2.8 million votes, while the PF-led president had there was a difference of over at least 1 million votes. What gives you that confidence that they would want this political party they kicked out of office 4 years ago due to the issues of corruption, due to the issues of cadreism, political violence? You can mention it, just a few.
Okay, very well. So
the mess the PF left.
Okay. So what has the UPND fixed? When they have borrowed more, it's not like they stopped borrowing, they have borrowed more. They have possibly borrowed as much as PF borrowed when we were in government. But with what PF borrowed, there are things that we can point us to say, listen, we built that airport, which is called the Sausage Airport. We built Harimanga Nkumbula Airport. We built the airport, Simon Mwasakapwepwe Airport. We were able to show you the roads that we built. We're able to show you the hospitals that we built. We're able to show you different places, different things that we did with the money. We had the Cancer Diseases Hospital running. Built and started running the Cancer Diseases Hospital. What have they done? Everything has been ground to a halt. Everything that was working is no longer working anymore. So what did we do with the money? We invested it in infrastructure development. What have they done with the money? Literally nothing. They're saying they're working towards the economy. They've been singing this restructuring of debt song of which
they've said we are at least over 90%. And was it just last weekend where we saw Zambia being removed amongst those countries where it was categorized under the defaulters? Now that has...
How does that translate to food on the table for the ordinary Zambian? How does that translate to food on the table? It has been rhetoric over rhetoric. When Father Salangeta said, what people are concerned, tema grouse abantu barefwaya, liashi ya lutoshi wabuati. That's what he said. What was the response from the government? No, he should go and participate in our schools. But that is the reality on the ground. How is this policy translating to what the Zambian wants on the ground? How are we moving from a kind of politics that only benefit the elite and goes down to benefit those that are on the ground? And issues of bread and butter are very important for our country. And that is what we should be responding to. We were told in 2022 that we have restructured the debt. Then as time goes by, they're telling us, oh, actually, we haven't. We are now at this percentage. They're now telling us about percentage of debt restructuring. Does a percentage of debt restructuring tell you that the debt has been restructured? Teachers were made to go and dance Square Potuko. For what? Under the guise that the debt had been restructured. That's the song that they sang. And then now they're saying, Tilpafupi, Kwasatape Pangono will restructure the debt. No, they have not restructured the debt. So what is it that is being translated to in real terms? What is the benefit of the Zambian back there? Apa kudala wantu pempa kuma 500 kwacha. Apa manje na 20 kwacha, na 10 kwacha, wapempa. Because there is no money in circulation. Those that used to supply contracts, procurement system, it has been destroyed because it's only favoring members of UPND or Kapina Wakulu Wakulu, one government. Those are the ones that procurement is benefiting. Copper belt, for example. Kuja baziba na weka inendino amneni mashita supply kuma mines. What have they done? They have taken away all that from the people. There's no local beneficiation within the communities. The ones that are benefiting belong to the party. We have been told, no, we've brought this legislation for local content. Local content that takes away the benefit of those that are resident in those particular places where the resource is, and only benefits those that are in the echelons of power or the party is problematic. And that is a cry on the copper belt. Muledi afye mweka. Twa matupero lupiri, abalesa kulupiri nivambi. All those issues of Black Mountain, artisanal thing, the ones that have been made to benefit are members of the party, the ruling party, ministers in the ruling party, those that are in high office in the ruling party. Those are the ones that are benefiting. And the Zambians are saying, could be amenity honor. The president even dared to say, those who are saying that the cost of living is worse now, where do you live? Do you live in Zambia? Now, that question should be asked to him. Where does he live? Does he live in Zambia? Because the ordinary Zambian out there is saying, Stikwanisa could get 3 meals in a day.
And the argument is that they are now, they've done the foundation work. Hence, maybe if they're given another mandate come 2026, whatever you're referring to right now, all these benefits the UPND has been working on to fix the economy will now start trickling down to the Zambian people.
The promise was not for 2026 to 2031. The promise was for 2021 to 2026. So we can't then use this political gimmick to come back to apamanje tikabwerera apamanje nde pamene tizasebenza.
I'm sure since even the president when he had a presser, he even put an indication to say if you look at the inflation rate, it has even started dropping. Right now, about as of last month, it was about 11.9%. If you look at the exchange rate, all those things.
That inflation rate, our president doesn't even qualify to talk about it. Inflation look at how the Kwacha and the dollar is doing. Okay, so you can cook up the inflation rate, but when you look at the interest rates in the banks, they'll tell you, you're not doing, so you're no longer giving money to local businesses. Local businesses are not able to borrow from banks because the interest rates are so high, and that is what they have to work on. They have to work on and ensure that money trickles down to the Zambia. You can't talk about inflation rate and people still haven't eaten. You can't be talking about the dollar and people still haven't eaten. It must translate to a beneficiation on the Zambians. You can't have mines, running mines, and only benefit from the mines by way of taxes. No, we anticipate that we'll get about 3 million metric tons of copper. That is how much. As what I expected is to say, okay, out of this 3 million metric tons of copper that we're going to have, at least 1 million metric tons is going to benefit the Zambian. That's the money that is going to go to the Zambians. But you can't say we are running a mining industry and the only thing we're getting from it are taxes. And people that are being employed as casuals. That's not making sense. You are not responding to what the people want. You are not making the resources work to improve umoyo wabantu. You are not doing anything of that sort. Instead, what you're doing is just pushing in business interests above the country's interests. That is what has been.
You're aspiring as president. How are you going to respond to the needs of the people concerning what you're just highlighting?
Firstly, the country is not a business enterprise. When you're running a country, you are not running a business enterprise. You can't have that mentality. What you must know is that you have those that are doing well and those that are not doing well. How are you going to lift the lives of those that are not doing well to an area or to a place where everyone is being made to feel they have a sense of belonging to this country? There's a saying to say, charonchano ndarama nzatu. Is that what we want to subject our country to? How are we going to improve our economy? We have to have a sectoral approach. If we improve a sector itself, it will respond to give you employment. It will respond to ensure that that people or citizens are finding meaning in that. You have to look at the agriculture sector. You look at the mining sector. You look at the issues of energy. Those are very important if you're going to run an economy. How are you connecting industry to the youths that are coming out of universities? What areas have we targeted? Look at this. We're saying we are amongst the largest producers of copper.
Yes.
But the professionals that are supposed to be working in the mining industry, Why do we have so many expatriates coming from countries that don't even have copper? Shouldn't we be the ones as a country that have expatriates working in other countries that are developing copper mines? Why are we not connecting the youths, or indeed the students, to industry so that they have an opportunity to learn and absorb the knowledge and the know-how as to how the mines should be run? We can't at this stage say, it's a stinga kwani se kurani ngama mines. After so many years of independence,
so making a show of
we have
so
to
that
connect
the young people.
Yes.
Let's talk about. We're still in the mining sector,
yes.
And right now this is a typical issue. We've
yes.
seen what has been happening around the country when it comes to the issue of illegal mining. So, as somebody who is aspiring to be president of Zambia, how are you going to ensure that these young people benefit from the mining sector? They do this mining in a safe environment. Okay. What plan do you have?
Let me tell you what we did before and what we intend to do and possibly enhance. In Eastern Province, in places like Vobwe, Petauke, and Lumezi, there were gold deposits that were there. People started mining those gold deposits illegally. What did we do? We facilitated for artisanal licenses and gave to and created cooperatives. We created up to about 42 cooperatives in those particular places for gold mining. Now, what's the essence of having cooperatives? That is the only way you can regulate them and regulate them properly. Because when they belong to a cooperative, you know that the safety standards that you're going to provide as government are for an organized group. You don't go and say, we'll remove you altogether from doing this. You have to make sure, okay, how are we going to do this in a very safe environment? We did not just end there. We said, because they are going for gold, and there are certain tools that they need for gold. Government, working together with SADC, we gave them implements like panning, for panning, gold panning implements. We made sure those were available. We did not just end there. We said, okay, this gold that you're going to produce, we as government, Bank of Zambia, is going to be buying this gold from you. That's what we said. So if you create an environment where the so-called illegal mining are regularized in such a way that they draw a benefit, you create safety standards that are going to work for them in those particular areas where they are. You provide them the manpower, because only you as government have that capacity to do that. You provide that they're able to work in a safe environment and provide the necessary human resource in those environments. Provide them with implements or technology to be able to explore the gold in an efficient manner, the minerals in an efficient manner that brings beneficiation to them, and also provide a market. It's a whole value chain that you need to work on. You just don't go there with guns and shoot people and tell them, lekani, lekani. There's a problem. The reason they're there is telling you there's a problem. People are looking for a means of livelihood. You've not created an alternative.
You indicated to say one of the plans is that to ensure that you give artisanal licenses to these people.
That's what we did.
Yes. And maybe that's the plan. Let's say if you become president come 2026. But isn't that already being implemented by the UPND government? I'll give an example. Just last week, we saw government announcing that 266 artisanal gold mining licenses were given to cooperatives that will operate in Kikonge area of Mufobwe.
Okay, very well. Now I want you to look at the issue of those licenses that were given, and look at who was given those licenses, and tell me if there's local beneficiation as regards that. Isn't there still protests that are going on in those particular areas as to the issue of the benefit? And isn't the cry of the people that the ones that have been given those artisanal licenses are coming from different areas, and the locals have been taken away from that beneficiation? Isn't that the cry of the people? That certainly is the cry of the people. How do you curb that? How do you ensure that the rightful people who are supposed to benefit from those actually do benefit? Because you can't have a resource in your house that benefits more people that are coming from outside. Like your job is only to discover that it's there, thereafter it's taken away from you. That shouldn't be the case. You have to work on the whole value chain. At what point do you intervene? At what point do you empower the people that are working in those areas? You have to be looking at those things. You have to ensure that this resource that we have translates into national development. It translates into national development. Instead, what have we seen? There is this gold processing plant that has been built in Mumba at a cost of $22 million belonging to an individual. That is something that the government should own. That is why we keep saying that project where Bank of Zambia was the one to buy the gold as a strategic mineral should have continued, because that was going to ensure that we keep our reserves in terms of gold. We're going to have gold bullion. Ghana is doing that, Zimbabwe is doing that, and the economies are doing better. Their currencies are doing better. It's strengthening their currencies. Why did we stop that project? It doesn't mean vintu venango bakayamba imomkabwirako nukuvileka. Fix what's not working. Continue with what works. The wisdom in having reserves in terms of gold is that we have the resource. Why should we be saying tifuna manje dollar ipake in Bank of Zambia when we can easily say our store of value is going to be gold? Gold which we just get from the resources that are readily available in this country. We need to do that. And when we do that and we strengthen the cooperative movement, there will be beneficiation by our locals.
Okay.
Yes.
Now let's move to another critical sector.
Yes.
Honorable Zulu, the energy sector.
The energy sector.
Let's say, I'll still refer to 2026 because you're on this presidential bid. Let's say you win the 2026 general elections. What is your approach to rebuilding the energy sector?
Okay.
Right now, we all know to say the country is affected with this power deficit where we've seen people only receiving about 3 hours of power. What would be your approach?
You see, the first thing that we have to look at is this. Muri munyumba, muri nabana. You are supposed to have a meal. Then you cook your meal. Then you say, first one hour paneba, does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. The first thing that this government should do is stop exports, because we have an emergency in this country. When this government was coming in, or before they came in, they told us 3 hours to 4 hours of load shedding. It's not because of bad rainfall patterns. It's not because of climate change. It's because of bad leadership, poor leadership. They promised the Zambians to say, we are coming in with proper leadership. We are going to implement the Dubai formula. Dubai, it doesn't rain there, and yet they have power 24/7. That was a promise that was given. Now, with that promise, now we have 21 hours of load shedding. If 4 hours of load shedding was poor leadership, 21 hours of load shedding is abysmal. It means they should not even be in power. In fact, they should be resigning, because they were supposed to beat these 4 hours of load shedding. They were supposed to bring it down, but they haven't doubled it. They haven't tripled it. They haven't even quadrupled it. It's even more than that. It's more than that. 21 hours of load shedding. How do you expect welda kwa kamanga kupanga ko ma door frame? How do you expect ujawa saluni kunkala kuna customer? How are you going to expect people who only have power from 03 to 06? Ukalbe kuuka malaiti ya bwera. Uuka malaiti ya enda. Other people don't even know that nyumba ina malaiti, because they don't have an opportunity to use that power. We were being promised by June, disaster stabilize. When June comes, no, by now, the new promise is that by next year, August, the power situation is going to stabilize. When the first press briefing that the president had who was asking you journalists, you were there, Priska, you were there when the president asked all of you, who among you is being load-shedded? You are not being load-shedded because of the leadership. We've been working in the background. So what's going on in the background now? What has changed now? That's why I'm saying it has been all talk. What is happening to the Luswasi Dam, a project that PF left? where we said Central and Mchinga province were going to be benefiting power from there. What is happening to the Iteji power generation and plant? That was meant to be supplying southern, western, as well as central provinces. What is happening? What is happening to the Katete wind energy? That was intended to provide power for eastern province. What is happening to the Chongwe nuclear power plant? Of course, this was going to be a long-term power project. But we don't only get into projects that are only going to work within the term of you are in office. You must be seen to be working on something. The population is only growing. If the population is growing, what long-term plans do you have? We've got nuclear power alternative. We've got uranium, the whole of Lusaka going towards Chongwe. There's uranium in these particular areas. How are we going to use our resource for local beneficiation? We've got coal, Dangote, at least Sanapun Sagwa president, a small crash course as to how best to campaign, how best to work to provide energy. Because every country knows for industry to thrive, you must have energy. You must have energy to power your industry 24/7. You must have energy for consumption at residential level, because students need to study. You can't say, no, my youth, we are solutions that are going to work for their benefit. You have already said, told us that you will bring it to an end in this particular period. Why are you giving us another 3 years? What hasn't worked that you embarked on? Tell us what hasn't worked. Now we have, is it Kanono Energy that is buying power from ZESCO and selling to the mines at a profit. Why isn't ZESCO the one that's doing that? Why are we benefiting private enterprise at the expense of Zambians? Why isn't that same power being sold to Zambians at household level? Why are we benefiting those that are close to us by enabling them to buy power and sell? See, there's a colleague of mine who runs a power company who went to Mozambique and tried to buy power from there. They were just about to sign power purchase agreement so they could evacuate power from Mozambique into Zambia. The very next day, they were not allowed. They said, okay, we will not sign this agreement because the only special purpose vehicle we're dealing with from Zambia is is it Kanono Energy, something like that. Yes, that is how we have polluted the whole energy industry to only benefit those that are close to the powers that be. We can't be proceeding in that direction. We have to look at what is the interest of Zambians. Why are we exporting power when we should be benefiting the Zambians?
You keep on referring to the issue of exports, Council Zulu. As a lawyer, I understand to say there are certain things which needs to be done in order maybe for a country to stop exporting certain things. And in this case, we're talking about ZESCO exporting power. Government has made it clear to say ZESCO cannot stop exporting power as it is currently under contractual obligations. And as a lawyer, you know to say certain things, there are consequences when you get to stop them abruptly.
And as a lawyer, I also know that there's something called force majeure. I know that there are certain circumstances that make it difficult for you to carry out a contract, and those must be respected. So the circumstances that we are in right now,
they allow us
allow us to stop the exports for purposes of local beneficiation. You can't kill your industry for purposes of supporting the industry in the neighboring country. You can't do that, because that means that there will be no jobs for your people. It means that you can't produce. You kill industry in your country. That's what it comes down to. That's not what we want.
But if ZESCO was to cut the exports, if they were to cancel the exports, when it comes to whatever has been agreed, the amount ZESCO may pay as a result of cancelling power exports agreement is way more than what could be generated locally.
No. If you're going to come in as an astute negotiator who is able to make it rain even when it doesn't rain, you can't be coming up with such excuses. Like I told you, there are circumstances that may exist that make it difficult for you to be able to carry out the terms of a contract. And if those circumstances that we are in right now, where you're going to subject people to 3 hours of load shedding, make it necessary that you should not externalize that power. It makes it very necessary. Then you can't give such an excuse when you told us that you have leadership that is going to give us power 24/7. Why? Okay, maybe 21 hours is too much, and you were complaining about 4 hours. Give us 2 hours of load shedding. What did PF do when there was this much of load shedding? We had to dock a ship in Mozambique to evacuate power into Zambia for industry to thrive, for homes to run, for students at the university. Manje, we are having protests.
Okay.
We are having protests because students are not getting the fair hours of power that they need to be able to excel as students. What is the youth out there going to study?
Away from the energy sector, another trending issue, it is the constitution amendment process, which is currently underway. We saw to say some time back, the government unveiled Bill 7 to the Zambian people, which had about 13 proposals. There was an outcry from the general public to say, no, you cannot just impose Bill 7 on the Zambian people. Some people even took that matter to court, where the court guided to say there is need to restart the whole process. They guided the government to come up with a technical committee, which was done by the president. We saw last month, like a few days ago, the technical committee going around the country, receiving submissions from different people. But this issue has continued. A lot of people have continued to come out to say they do not want this process, despite the government doing the right thing based on what the Constitutional Court guided. What's your take on this?
The preamble of the Constitution says, we the people give to ourselves this Constitution. It doesn't say, we the government give to you the people this Constitution. The current government thinks it is their job to give the Zambian people a constitution. It is for that reason that you heard lamentations from the president saying, you allowed other presidents to change the constitution. Me, you are not allowing me to change the constitution. Why do you hate me so much? Because of where I come? Is it because of where I come from? I didn't choose to come from where I'm from. Was that really necessary? Is that the language that you expect from a president? Does he think it is the responsibility of every president to change the constitution? It is not. The constitution is changed by the Zambian people, depending on the exigencies of the times. Apa nintawi yote tichinje constitution. Vantu ndiane kolokamba kutitifuna tichinje constitution. Because it is known that the person who sets the terms of reference determines what goes into the constitution. So, our president has determined what he wants to go into the constitution by those particular terms of reference. One of the people that are on the technical committee lamented to say, why are you giving us these terms? We can't even fidget to add any other thing. We are in a bottle. There's nothing we can do about this process. Meaning that that is not responding to the aspirations of the people. I had expected that if a commissioner is going to come up with such lamentations, if they are worth their salt, they would resign and say, I can't continue like this. Because you have bottled us up, you have already determined what should be in the constitution, and therefore we should go on ahead. Why should it be very important that you should go ahead and have more constituencies when you are supposed to be dealing with issues of energy? You want to create more constituencies, and you are not responding to the issue of energy. You are not responding to the issue of agriculture. Is that the only way that constituencies are going to develop? See, there's this very myopic argument that was being proposed by the president when he said, no, when we have more constituencies, you are going to have more CDF. Now, that is assuming that people are daft. Because when you are dealing with issues of a constituency, you're talking about realignment of wards. And the issue of CDF, Constituency Development Fund, is not an issue of the Constitution. It's not an issue that requires the changing of the Constitution. CDF, you can realign it to wards. Which constituencies have more wards? How do we equitably distribute resources on the basis of wards to translate into what is going to become a constituency development fund. Do you need to have more MPs for purposes of beneficiation in the communities? That argument doesn't fly. It doesn't add to anything. Do you need to have more power to be able to bring in even up to 40 MPs as president? You want to bring in more MPs into parliament. Is that what Zambians want right now? You ask yourself, is that what is a pressing issue? Why are you so determined to change our electoral system close to an election before people are given an opportunity to interrogate? You are even suggesting that let's change or include more constituencies, and you are keeping the recommendations for constituencies under your table. Which Zambian has seen the recommendations that are there? No one has seen it. Are you going to say, first kind of parliament, my constituency, you don't do that.
Just saying they're using what was proposed under the PF.
No, they are not using what was proposed under the PF. They claim to want to use that, but they should have made it available to the Zambians. But even then, even assuming that they wanted to use that, it's the very thing that the Zambians said no to. When we're arguing for Bill 10, we said we want to increase the number of constituencies. Zambia said no. Himself was on television saying no. Himself was on television praising the Catholics for saying no to the contents of Bill 10, which are reflected in Bill 7. What has become good of them now? What has changed from that time to this time around? We had said we want challenging of election nominations to be as one as challenging a petition. When you look at Article 54, 56, 57 of the Constitution. He said that was okay, there was nothing wrong when he was being interviewed by Costa. Now things have changed. Now a man is only as good as his words. And now that we know that the president is incapable of keeping his word, this government is incapable of holding on to their promises. We can't trust them because it's built, all this thing is supposed to be built around trust. And for the very first time in a very long time, you have constitutional amendments that are being initiated by government. And government insisting on particular amendments.
That was
it should not be the same.
But now they've gone to the people. We saw it at the technical committee going around the country, getting submissions.
They have gone to the people, not for people to determine what should be in the Constitution. They have already determined what should be in the Constitution. That's why I said the person who sets the terms of reference determines what should be in the Constitution. Government has already determined what should be in the Constitution. Because government has already determined what should be in the Constitution, there is nothing that any other person will submit out there that is going to go outside the four corners of what
maybe
the
why not
terms
wait
of reference
not
is.
until whatever the technical committee will unveil, then people can pick it up.
What's there to wait for when it's already known what's there? There's nothing to wait for. There's nothing to wait for. We've got better issues to concentrate on. We've got an economy to work on. We've got youths to take care of. We've got high levels of employment and employment to take care of. Those are things that should be we should be concentrating on as a country.
Our dear listener, my guest this morning, PF presidential aspirant Makebi Zulu, who is also former Malambo Member of Parliament, also former Eastern Province Minister. We open the phone lines. This is the interview program on Millennium Radio 90.5 FM in Lusaka, 93.5 FM in Kabwe, 93.9 FM in Kabiri, and 100.1 FM in Ndola and surrounding areas on the Copper Belt. Just an appeal, as you call in, tell us your name, where you're calling us from, and within a minute, ask my caller, my guest rather, a question. We pick our first call. Hello, good morning. 0962-870921, 0962-870921. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, madam. How are you?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, thank you very much. Good morning, Mr. Lepo.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you very much.
Your name and where are you calling us from?
Richard, calling in Kambo area.
Well, Richard, go ahead, please.
Thank you, thank you. Honorable, thank you very much for coming to the radio. Kwa mkabambao ya kuna nanini, maafiki zote yaona nanini. So mambo ya president imekamba kwanza mkapo kuna uchini kulizane na pia ule mwingine sio pia maisha ndio ndio kocha hayo pushing being a lawyer so that you are clean. That the more of the still that's my case part. I got extended the time. So the river,
okay, thank you so much. We pick another call 0962 87 0921 0962 87 0921. Millennium Radio, good morning.
Hello, Mulishani.
We know Mulishani.
We know never Brian Kumbongwe.
Yes, but Brian, go ahead, please.
In the Sinipidizana, one of our guests, one of Wakamba, UPND, Ikapitamayo. Hello, Nomba, Ikaskana Kumasiria, Watuka Adindi Wakafumafena Wanu.
Okay.
By UPND, Valley Bomba, hello, Padavajala, no Keva, GTF, Yadi Panga, but better to the Kumbong, Mr. Shivapan. Ora tu. Ifwe ama skulu kunu tusambira. Ibaka bena ndaba kupangena wa MMP. Kuna ifota twa mwana kona lodi ne skulu. Limbi ne cabinet bapangeba ekigalungu. Yafutra ifwe ko ba yatwala development. Apa yupiye ndiba kala mara itende cyalo tonse CDF. Namukale ka nono.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. We pick another call, then my guest response. 0962870921 0962870921. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. We know ma ukabanje.
Makebi Zulu mulibwanji.
Nilibwino mulibwanji.
Bwino abani bakwenyumu kwa batumira kwa mane.
Yes, Mamugwagwa. A minute, please.
Nikusaba Makebi Zulu mukamba the government ilipo kulipe bamene kita. Free education iliko. Chimene mufuna mukagabwira mukachose free education. Niwa allowance amene yenda kuma school kuma university mufuna mukachose. Why Mukamba to free education government participation? The question number 2. Amakebi Zulu, theoretically, Timalawa job state, right?
Okay. Okay, so we'll let Council Zulu respond. But Richard Wakamba, you have to work together. Unity, I think, in Nkaniawa Patriotic Front.
Okay. So, as regards the question, I'm going to Richard. But Richard, isetizi wakuti kufunika kugwirizana iseba PF na vipani vinango kuti tuone tifake agenda ya Zambia pasogolo. Vintu vamni wafuna vantu wa Zambia ndiye vamni tifuniko faka pasogolo. Tifunika tuone kuti nkani ya ulimi taifaka pasogolo. Taikaifaka pasogolo tizane kila tumaking sure kuti vajamne vachita supply monga milisi kwa FRA. Vantu wagona pamilai na pamanje wakabeno lipiriwa ndalama zao. Vantu wanekera walipiriwa ndalama zao. Iyamnetikamba farmer input support program. Tienekera tonse tsenzele pamozi kumaking sure kuti vantu mbeu wankala nazo pantau yake amnenekera nkala nayo. Osachabe kunkana nayo pantau yake koma vinkala vokwanira. Apa first time vantu tuona wagawana mbeu mu makapu. Vantu wamnezo tenga masaka wagawana makapu. Apa kunachoka ka video manje hapa. Tuona vantu wafaka makapu pansi kugawana milisi za mna za shanga. Ivo sivenzo chitika hapo kudala. But ivo tifunati konze tikirepo kuti na farming blocks muja tuone mwamnetinga watandizile kuti baleke kulimira kambwili wambolimira matrakta. Wakambolimira matrakta nishitu tizwa vamile vizacokamo vizati tandiza vizankala vambili na ntao yochita vintu vinango vizapaka. Ndiye reason ya mnetufuna kuti kale pamozi monga opposition. My ideas yatu yonse tifake pamozi tisewenzele bantu. Wamukwakwa. Brian wakumpongwe. Brian wakumpongwe. Wakambati kulibeva mni wanachita. Uzi wa wantu waona vamni wafuna kuona. Nda the first thing vamni wakamba nvakuti UPND za wina. Swana tuuze vamni achita UPND vamni vizalengesa kuti wawine. Vatuuza tino PFC na sevenze kumpongwe. But we are aware that schools were being built. on the Copper Belt. Both Copper Belt rural and Copper Belt urban schools were being built in these particular areas. We are aware of that. So Swanga Kambat could be school amnena mangio. It's because he wants to see what he wants to see. And what we're telling you is that even assuming that if we've into Signashtio, what we are promising is a new leadership, a new leadership that is responding to the aspirations of people. Where schools were not built, we shall build them, because we are known to be the godfathers of infrastructure development so far. In terms of infrastructure development, till Pasogolo, kuchira vipani vinango.
UPND has done so much. Given an example, free education, meal allowances, maybe just to add the partial withdrawal. But it haven't been the money by UPND, so they will go through 2026.
So, wamukwagwa, wenzo funsati, mufuna mkabwera mkachose po free education. Free education, wamukwagwa sizachosapo. But instead, we will even enhance it much more. Because ukumaskulu kwa mnemuchita free education, vamna manga wa PF, we would not have had free education if there were no schools in which to implement this policy of free education. That's why we had a robust system of infrastructure development to have these particular schools. Now, the issue of free education, with one hand the government has given, with the other it has taken away. What do I mean?
What do you mean by that?
Where mwana aenda ku school benzolipira mazinga tu wana ku school 150 kwacha. Ayin. Tifuna tuone manje iyi abni wakamba at free education. Vana lesa abantu kulipira 150 kwacha. Okay? So 150 kwacha tacho sako 10. Okay, very well. We appreciate that. Then mwaikira unga by 200 kwacha. Mwaikira fuel by maybe 8 kwacha, 20 kwacha per liter. Also, what you think you have taken away with we have given with one hand, you have taken away using the other. People are facing much more economic hardships in their homes than before. But mkambata tampasani free education. Free education yamna kamba maskulu, obviously they've taken children there. But what are they saying about quality education? It's these very schools that were built by PF that they've employed teachers, okay? But then, what is the pupil-teacher ratio? Shouldn't we then be embarking on building much more infrastructure?
Actually, they've said they're doing that. If you've seen almost each constituency, could have 1/3, could directive put in my desks so that they've assured to say they'll employ more teachers so that quality is not compromised.
Exactly. So it is important that quality is not compromised. Manjet kanina kuti quality is not compromised. Obviously, we need to build more classrooms. Yeah, like you said, they are building more classrooms. We're building more schools. That's what we're doing. Building more schools in which free education should be implemented. So in this particular schools where free education is implemented, this minimum fee that was being charged of 150 kwacha has been taken away. Very good. But you can't then impose it on other commodities. Now people have to buy more charcoal because they can't use power. And then you say we gave you free education. Let us look at all these other areas. Let us look at a whole rounded approach towards development. Meal allowances, of course, these are very important because you have to make sure that your students in universities have these meal allowances. They have these bursaries. These are very important initiatives that are there. And they have to be extended even to other institutions that are dealing with sectors that are very necessary to build our economy. If we are saying that, listen, in our country, our comparative advantage is agriculture. What incentives are we giving to the youths to be able to get into the agriculture sector, to be able to get into schools of agriculture, incentivize them, give them proper project allowances, connect them to industry for them to have the skill and know-how by the time they are done.
Okay.
Now you have education, which you are giving, but industry is dead. So if industry is dead, where are they doing the attachments from?
Okay.
There's no power where food processing is supposed to be done. and a person who is in agriculture and has to learn how to process or add value to those commodities. There's no power in the industry where they're supposed to work. Let's develop these linkages for purposes of skill transfer, not bookish people that we will be producing in
another set of
colleges.
Millennium Radio, good morning.
Good morning, Priska.
Good morning.
And good morning, President Makebi Zulu.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. You have a minute.
Yes, I have a minute. Mr. President, are you also going to continue, because me, I'm very confident you come into power, to continue selling power using proxy? We are aware that there's a company which is called Tamono. They are bulk buying electricity from ZESCO and reselling. We also have some power. We have even got documentation of how they are sharing the money.
Okay.
What are you going to do about this company? And as I conclude, can you again re-emphasize that PF didn't leave any deficit with electricity? We left electricity at 2,800 plus megawatts, but it's being sold as the Secretary to the Cabinet of Namibia came and reviewed in the office of the Vice President. All these people are just lying. They are selling electricity.
Thank you. We pick another call, 0962870921, 0962870921. Hello, good morning. 0962870921, 0962870921. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Madam Priska.
Good morning, sir. Your name and where you're calling us from?
This is Patrick. I'm calling from Lusaka. And good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning, Patrick.
Yes, for me,
I would like to express your explanation concerning the progress you have made to unite as a patriotic front. I personally am non-partisan, but I am a firm believer in democracy. I observed in the interview on several occasions, the moderator tried to, shake you and make you look like the current party is working harder than the PF, but your demeanor and, leadership, your response with calmness is highly commendable, and please give us the reconciliation that we need. Democracy is good, and a party like the Patriotic Front is good for democracy and fairness. But the two parties, the two main oppositions, the two main political parties, which is the current ruling party and the former ruling party, can compete fairly. Thank you so much.
Let's pick one call, then we'll wrap up. 0962870921, 0962870921. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes, well spoken.
Your name, ma'am, where are you calling us from?
Miriam from Chongwe.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Oh, she just said well spoken. Okay, as you respond to these calls, I also want you to respond or to give a comment on something. We pick another call? Okay, my director says we pick another call. Hello, good morning. Now, Kabuino, Mwakabanje.
Mr. President, how are you?
Nilibwino mulibwanje.
Sina. Vachikubawe, 1 minute.
No, Mr. Makebi is speaking very well. It's very different. The question is, are you going to continue with that process which you started with your government when you have got to stay in your bank, in that bank of Zambia? Are you going to continue? Because look, that reserve will help to appreciate the water, which is very, very important.
Okay.
Another question, what are you going to do with the interest rate? Because the government of the day, they have to increase the interest rate. People are finding it difficult to borrow money from the bank.
Okay.
Immediately, people they are not borrowing money from the bank. There is the shortage of the money in the country. Companies are failing to go and borrow money. The government is borrowing again from the bank at the high interest.
Thank you, Vachikubawe. I've run out of time. one last question. I want your comment on this. So police in Kasama have a...
That should not be tolerated in a democracy. We need to respect the right of people to say things, the right of people to express themselves, and to express themselves in a manner that is lawful. There is nothing that Bishop Chama or Archbishop Chama said that is that incites violence. If we even tell you we want to march peacefully, we want to protest peacefully as regards this issue that affects the country. The very Catholic Church that you praised for standing up against Bill 10, you want to condemn them for standing up against Bill 7, which essentially is repetitive and even worse than Bill 7. Bill 7 had a structure. It had a legal backing on which it was built. There was that dialogue forum, the law that was created, and it had that particular structure. You can't then abuse your power, abuse the police to summon a person on the cloth. That should not be tolerated and should be condemned.
Okay.
Then Chikubabe talked of continuing with God reserves. That is a panacea to our economic ills. Let's make use of our resources that we have in Zambia for the beneficiation of Zambia. Then it will work on the what we have in our reserves, the interest rates. That will be worked on because government will have sufficient reserves and they won't have to borrow. If government reduces its borrowing from the banks, banks then resort to lend to the people. If government is the one that's borrowing the most from the banks do not see the need to lend to the people, and people end up being broke. What has that resulted in? A lot of illegal money lenders are on the market. People are losing their properties to illegal money lenders, and that is because government is facilitating that by being the ones to borrow the most from the banks and letting people go to the informal sector to try and borrow to cover up for the losses that they are making and never to recover their properties. It is a sorry sight.
We spoke about the exports, maybe an assurance, Madam Mombipiri, on exports to say when you come into office, are you going to stop that?
Madam Mombipiri puts a very valid point that we have placed the benefit of power on individual enterprises in which government or indeed individuals in government have an interest in. Those are the ones that are benefiting and the people of Zambia are suffering. So that must be stopped. We can't have private enterprise connected to the powers that be being the ones to benefit from the resource that Zambians ought necessarily to be benefiting from. We have to guarantee the Zambians that we want industry to thrive. Industry where the youths are going to work in has to thrive. Industry where skills will be transferred has to thrive. And we need to invest in the energy sector, as that is the backbone of every economy. The mines need energy. Agriculture needs energy. Our homes need energy. This studio needs energy to run. We need to be on top of things.
Okay, the other two callers were just commending you, which is Patrick and Madam Miriam.
Yes, Patrick says we need to unite, and he's a firm believer in democracy. That's why I was shocked when the president was saying they have even started to regroup. We should regroup. It's a democracy. We should come together and give Zambia's alternative. There's nothing wrong with that. He should not be finding anything wrong with that. It is an exercise of the freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom of association. These are tenets that we gave to ourselves to be able to enjoy.
We'll pick last round of calls. 0962870921. Hello, good morning. Is it morning or afternoon? Good morning.
Good morning, my sister.
Good morning.
This is David Sebastian and the last morning. Mr. Makebi Zulu, good morning.
Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm all right. Mr. Makebi Zulu, there are things that I don't agree with you when it comes to free education. Mr. Makebi Zulu are saying, teacher discrimination. So you wanted those children who went back to school to continue staying home. That's my first question. Secondly, do you know that during your time, Mr. Makebi Zulu, you are the one who brought these people called donkeys through capitalism? Do you know that? During your time, how was the price of fertilizer? And the time you came in power in 2011,
You have to wind up. You have to wind up, sir.
Sure.
Thank you so much. You've talked about fertilizer, millennium. We continue. We pick another call 0962870921, 0962870921. Millennium Radio, good morning.
Yeah, very good. Vableska. Ngati ufuna ngala.
Ati ndimwe wandani zina.
Sorry,
bwezakoni magia yo kambanchi mbele.
Kama kumkaka kumyuki kumeleki wamene oyo wemulina yapo.
Okay.
Munopisa alipafupi hapo. For example, mwaiona matani Vableska. Mwe mukambisana naye alipisa kukalipirani onati president watu wetili naye president akaende chilema anakalipira wotwati yu wotwati kule wale wakutuma kulisilete kotaiba basi kuyo Makebi sana kukalipira mfoni ali genuine mundu wakote alibe corruption mmaindi mwake 2026 yenda na hevi wakimzelekwe.
Okay, I get the boys. Zikomo. We pick another call 0962870921. Millennium Radio, good morning.
This is
Precious, go ahead, ma'am. You've said from Livingston?
Like for me, I want to greet the President first. How are you, Mr. President?
I'm okay, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine. You know, we are behind you, and we know that for you, indeed, you are going to help us to bring truth to the nation about what these people they keep on pretending. So for that other caller was saying that UPND they are going to win.
No, you can't really comment on what another person said. Just ask the Honorable Makebi your question, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yes, please.
So Honorable Makebi Zulu, like myself, what I want you when you come in power, help us in fighting against corruption to zero tolerance. Not those who pretend like they are fighting corruption, but they are increasing corruption. So I don't have much to say, but those are my ways.
Okay.
You should concentrate on fighting against corruption.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. I'll pick my last call. 0962870921, 0962870921. Millennium Radio, good afternoon. Mkoi Mwabombeni. Ishi na tibanani mletu minakwisa. Yes, for Isaac.
Ndipo kukusha ba Makebi Zulu hapo. Na mkaidi na mwiba ejidoto kiende madamu. Tumatango kwa wakati mwaita ba mambo kuita bendu ngurushi mimrena kila kwa tuke sema bote kwa wati bakana bakala mfahawa. And then ba na ben bakati ile
Okay. Na wewe wakachinje. Apa wanakilila next bazati wakanikalipile na wewe wakankala wa president. Okay, we pick another call. We start with
You didn't say that.
You know, that's the way power is.
That's the way power
because
is.
you're in the opposition now, when you get to State House, it's a different person. You can respond
So
to
you
the...
agree that the president
No.
has changed?
On that one I can't comment. I don't know what happens with you
You
politicians.
insinuated that. You're free to say it.
But David.
So, but David Sebastian Mianda talked about free education, something far away from what I said. We do not intend to scrap away free education. We're saying we will enhance free education. We will complement it with quality education. We will complement it with technical skills that the children or the pupils in schools need to know and have. We will complement it with technical schools that we need to have. industry-specific education that looks to areas of development that are of concentration. We'll look to see how best to connect the students to industry in areas where we need to create employment. We do not only need to take people to school for purposes of them finding employment, but we need to create an environment where they are able to create employment. We need to give them skills where they do not necessarily need to look for a job. They have to work, or they can work for themselves. We will have to encourage enterprise. We will have to encourage a system of government where we are able to capitalize SMEs or small industries or startups for that matter. We should be able to fund them, capitalize them, keep them responsible, supervise them, and enable them to grow so that they participate in the economy of our country. That's what we are looking to. And Mr. Sebastian talks of the price of fertilizer, the price of Millennium. He seems to be admitting that things are bad, but he's only carrying out a comparative analysis as to say that, okay, when PF was there, the prices were high and you never reduced them, and now it's high. He's also telling us that...
Yeah, he gave an example of fertilizer. When under the MMG government, the prices were lower, you came into power.
The prices were higher.
Yeah, yes, same with Millennium.
Millennium, yes. And we're saying, listen, the prices at which they were found at, the promise was that there would be a reduction. We can't then begin to justify the lack of reduction and instead the increase thereof to say, Avanachita Vaso. That is the reason that you find that the last 4 years, it has been a blame game. When the slogan was that Bali will fix it, there's nothing that has been fixed. You have then to admit that we have failed to fix because we are incompetent to fix. So to justify the incompetence of the UPND based on the fact that there was an increase previously, and weighing it against a promise that there would be a reduction, doesn't really add up. There was a promise that was made. Bali will fix it. Has he fixed it? No, he has not fixed it. Do Zambians have an alternative? Yes, we are offering that alternative, that we are the alternative to deal with these matters that should have been dealt with. Then Chimwemwe Mtonga, yes, well, those were commendations, and thank you very much, Mauya Bwino Maninga Yamveka, and we'll make sure that we work to do what is right.
Precious commending Precious you and also help the
and
fight
says we have
corruption.
to fight against corruption. This is very important. We can't have a situation where you have a targeted fight against corruption. You create courts only to deal with certain kinds of people. We should be, in our approach, we should not be segregative. If we're going to target corruption, let's deal with it from the bottom up, from up to the bottom. We have to create institutions of government that are independent. ACC should not be in the office of the president. DEC should not be in the office of the president. They should be independent. There should be a reporting system that is public, accountability that is public. There should be true independence of these institutions, investigative institutions. Independence financially, independence in terms of human resource, and security of tenure of the officers in those places. If you don't work around these things, kwamba wendo tenga permission kuri wa president timgwire tisamgwire okay tizambogwira chabe ba PF ko kapina tizambogwira chabe bantu bamnashita oppose. Almost all the leaders in the opposition are in court, and that shouldn't be the case. Then Isaac Banda wakambatu bantu
politicians in general. When you're in the opposition, you sound so calm, you promise people a lot of things, but once you get into power, you do the opposite.
You know, there's something that was said to say power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We have seen that happening now. That is what's happening. That's why you lamented that it's because Priska.
Mr. Isaac.
Yes, Mr. Isaac. But you also asked that will not happen to
like
you.
Mr.
We can guarantee you that, because every question that is raised raises a concern from the people, and when you listen to people and they express their concerns, it means there's something that should be done about it. There's something that you should do about it. A legitimate question is raised by Oswald, and he required a legitimate answer. to that particular question, addressing the very concerns that ought to be addressed. And the mark of leadership is the ability to acknowledge where you have gone wrong, to acknowledge where your deficit is, and ask how best you can do anything better or things better. It's supposed to be consultative. Governance is not a cult. Governance is not a cult. It's okay to be consultative in your approach. It's okay to admit your failures. It's okay to ask for help. It is okay. And that is the kind of leadership that we bring to the table. A leadership that is consultative, a leadership that is decisive, a leadership that works to respond to the aspirations of the people.
Councillor Makebi Zulu, thank you so much for making it to the program.
Thanks for having me on your program, Prisca.
Okay, our dear listener, this is where we end the program.